winner of tonight's costume contest is...
Alright, well, I am on my way to Washington, D.C. for the Halloween Takeover, which is supposed to be some crazy bar venue themed like a bank robbery with a ton of Trump personalities, high-profile individuals are attending, and it's supposed to get really weird, but it's supposed to be really exciting too. So I'm on the road. I got about 3 hours left in the drive. Let's do it. So I've finally made it to DC. I have no idea what the parking situation is because the signs are confusing as hell. I guess I can park here, I hope. The club's about 1 block that way. So I'm basically here. And this is news, I guess. But it should be interesting, right? It's a bunch of Trump personalities, Halloween party costumes, so we'll see what some of the costumes are. Washington, DC. Should be fun. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is it. Literally nothing outside, but there is a door, and I'm going to open the door, and I'm hoping this is the right place, that I'm not walking some stranger's house or something. Okay, no, this is definitely a venue. All right. Doing an interview. I'll be quiet for now. There's a wall of money. $100 bills. I don't think it's all real though. I bet like only the first one is real and then the rest are not real. Actually, I can see inside some of them. Could be real. They also have golden toilets. I don't think it's real gold, but I don't think you want me to film the toilets anyway. There's already people out in front of the venue. Do you know, yeah, you mentioned there was like a list or something.
I think there's a list of attendees who got, you know, told where the venue was, because Will was saying in a Periscope, I'm going to tell people where it is if they sign up, and I guess the guy knows someone who signed up or something. I mean,
oh, okay.
Once it goes out to 100 people, it can't really be kept.
It's leaked.
Yeah.
It's officially leaked, yeah. So is that how many people are supposed to come? Like 100 people?
Something like that, yeah.
And so the people who are waiting outside are not attendees?
At least one of them is not, apparently. That's all,
yeah, there's, how many people is there? 4 people. I think there's 4 people standing outside.
Yeah, and it's what, like an hour early?
Yeah. So there's 4 people outside already.
Oh, it's not that early, actually.
No? What time is it?
No, it's 10 up.
10 to?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, we are late.
I didn't realize it was that late.
I was supposed to be here earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. Want to go back in then?
Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, we have the drink list. Check it out. The McCain, the Ryan, the Pelosi, and the Clinton. You know, I should get one.
No.
So what's your costume? You look like Dracula?
No, I am an IRS agent. The scariest thing out of all Halloween costumes that could ever rob and loot and steal the wealth of the American people.
Okay.
Because the Federal Reserve is a quasi-private bank run by institutionalized bankers. You look up the Federal Reserve and then you see everything is fake. Every single thing in our institution
worst
and our society is fake.
And the joke is that he's a vampire, but it's the IRS.
Okay, laugh track.
All right, it is really noisy and actually really dark. So I decided to grab Will and come upstairs so that we could talk about what the event is, what he's doing, and we'll go here by this light. This works. And yeah, I want to talk to him about just what's going on, and we'll get an understanding of the party and all that stuff.
Excellent. Will Chamberlain, incoming executive director of MAGA Meetups.
What is MAGA Meetups?
So MAGA Meetups is going to be a nationwide organization of meetup groups in major cities around the country and elsewhere, where people who are kind of heterodox conservatives can meet up and enjoy each other's company and network and be educated and have a really good time.
Is it heterodox?
Heterodox, I think of it as like, it's a big tent, so if you're a conservative and you want to come, you're perfectly welcome, and hell, if you're a liberal and you want to come, you're perfectly welcome.
It's basically just like a political meetup, but...
It's like a political meetup, but a place where people who are Trump supporters or Trump sympathetic even can have a place where they know they're going to have a safe space, right? I mean, we joke about that because obviously safe space is leftist talk, but it's true that essentially conservatives often feel in their place of employment, in their social circle, that they can't talk about what they think. And that's different from even 4 years ago, where it was perfectly fine to be a Romney supporter in polite company. But in 2017, it's really not acceptable in polite company to be a Trump supporter. And so it creates this need for community and networking among people who are sympathetic to Trump.
The lighting makes you look evil, like half of your face is
That's
dark.
fine. I'm totally okay being a villain.
So it's a safe space, in a sense. I know you're being a bit facetious, but
yes.
Aren't you creating an epicenter then for the protesters to come and, you know, the people who are anti-Trump to show up?
We always have to be worried about that. We try and do it at upscale places because we feel that the protesters kind of shy away from them in the same way that, you know, termites shy away from things that alienate termites. Like what we're trying to do is create a place where, you know, people can come together. And no matter what, if you're going to announce a place where Trump supporters are going to come together, some people are going to want to protest. The question is, do you have security? Is it awkward to protest? Does it make sense to protest? And so when you do it at really classy places, people generally don't want to. And what we're targeting with most of our meetups is upscale restaurants, upscale bars, so that people feel safe and so that protesters feel unwelcome.
So in the mainstream, like on TV, on social media, big companies, it seems like, as you mentioned, you know, people, they don't feel safe talking about supporting Trump because it's almost not socially acceptable.
Right. And
why?
Why? Something about it's a combination, I think, of Trump's manner and Trump's policies. So the manner is, frankly, it's a little bit vulgar. And so as a result, if you were educated and acculturated in an upper class society, what Trump represents is something that you don't necessarily think is socially acceptable. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea that he's president. I think it's a good thing that he's president. But his manner is something that turns off a lot of people and gives people an excuse to reject those who support him. Secondly, his policies are different. He represents a different form of Republican in the sense of both, in some ways he's much more socially liberal and progressive on economic policies, but in other ways he's more strict on immigration than the standard Republican platform, and that's sufficient for people who would be hostile to Trump or be hostile to Trump supporters to find a reason to say that's beyond the pale, that's socially unacceptable. When in reality, it's actually a fairly moderate position. We joke that what Trump represents is what Clinton represented 25 years ago. It's not particularly radical.
Really, yeah. I mean, Clinton was criticized during the election for calling for a border barrier with Mexico, and she said that she called it a fence, not a wall.
Right.
You know, so it's semantics at that point, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's semantics and it's an aesthetic thing, right? Like once Trump, with his aesthetic style, decided that the wall was a core part of his platform, because his style was so antithetical to the way that like a different sect of society viewed the way things ought to be, that became like an unacceptable position. When in reality, the difference between a barrier and a wall is not substantial. But
now I'll get a little bit more critical. I mean, Trump's had significant ups and downs. I mean,
sure.
If you watch nothing but the mainstream media, it's just been a nightmare for his campaign.
Sure.
He's having trouble getting people confirmed, appointed, etc. He's having trouble following through. Even Trump supporters have been criticizing him, say with like the Syria missile strike, or with his rhetoric on North Korea. There's been a lot of criticism over his war hawkishness.
Sure.
You still support Trump through all of the I don't want to say everything, but through these particular.
Broadly speaking, I mean, the way to think about it is I'm glad Donald Trump is president and Hillary Clinton isn't. There's plenty of places where I criticize Trump. I criticize Trump about the Syria strikes, although I think it's a close question. And I've criticized Trump for his handling of the executive branch. I think of MAGA meetups as, when I'd say Trump sympathetic conservatives, that's what I mean. Because if you voted for Trump over Hillary Clinton, you get it. You understand the reasons why people would be concerned about culture, foreign policy, economics, in a way that would lead you to vote for Trump over Hillary Clinton. If you have differences with certain things that Trump has done, that's fine. We're not about sycophancy. We're about people who understood the reasons why Trump was elected president and understood the reasons why somebody would vote for him. If you're on that page, then you're welcome at MAGA meetups. And even if you're not, if you're an open-minded person, you're welcome at MAGA meetups.
It's funny that it still just boils down to Hillary and Trump, even though it's been almost a year. One thing that I find fascinating is that on Reddit, if you go to the Rising section for all subreddits, there's three. There are three genres that do really well. First is anti-Trump, obviously.
Yeah.
Then pro-Trump, and then porn. those are the dominating subjects. But there's one subreddit, Hillary for Prison, that even after the election's been long over, we're still talking about the Russia investigation. We're still talking about Hillary Clinton.
I mean, it's a profound cultural divide, right? And that cultural divide hasn't gone away even though the election's been resolved. And there's a lot of reasons for that on both sides, right? The left continues to assert the Russia narrative, which seems to suggest that Trump was illegitimate. And as long as one side is contesting the legitimacy of the election, there's a natural polarization that's going to happen as a result. But I think no matter what, there's a big cultural divide in the country. Resolving it is going to be challenging. I think the only way to ultimately resolve it is a sort of unifying American nationalism, which Trump represents more than the Democratic Party represents in the modern world.
I think there's a lot of people in this country who aren't nationalists. They're globalists. They want open borders. They want free trade.
And I mean, that is a fundamental divide, but I think that that's a question on which the Trump supporters have the higher ground. If you actually look at the polls on things like open borders and the really radical positions that globalists espouse, it's 65-35 in favor of Trump, or 60-40. So Trump has that.
Probably why Trump won.
It's why Trump won, right? If people wanted open borders, they had a candidate that would have given something approximate to that. They didn't vote for them, despite the fact that Trump had all sorts of, particular problems to him as a candidate. So if people really think that globalism is something that the American population is ready for, I think they're wrong.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for coming and talking. Let's go back to the party.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's costume contest time.
All right. Do a spin so the crowd can see. There we go. Woo! All right. Anybody clapping? Woo! There we go. All right. Yes, there we go. Let's go. Jessica, the Tabasco Queen. She's hot, she's spicy, and she's got a trophy, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I guess that about wraps it up. There's a ton of parties going on all over the place where we are right now in DC. It's crazy, the streets are just filled with people wearing crazy ass costumes. But for this party, things have gone pretty tame. The party's open to the public, so people are just starting to pour in, and it's kind of like a regular event now. The party is still officially going on, there's still reservations, but now basically anybody can show up, so a lot of people who knew about the event are here. But for the most part, I think everybody got what they wanted. I hope you enjoyed the experience. If you're watching this and you didn't, there is a VR, a 360 camera experience on my YouTube channel. It should be up around the same time as this. I have no guarantees. It might be up later tonight when you're watching this because it's a 4K render in 360, so I gotta do a lot of work for that, but stay tuned for that. If it's not available now, it will be soon. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. I will be tweeting out when that video goes live. And if you want to support my work, go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like, give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and I will see you tomorrow.